Welcome back to Easily Explained, where today we will be talking about direct object pronouns in Spanish. So let's get started. Direct objects, what are they? For a detailed explanation, go rewatch our direct objects video, but we are going to be doing a little bit of a recap of direct objects in English, and then we can translate them into the Spanish direct objects, and then we'll start talking about direct object pronouns in Spanish. So a lot of different parts that we have to cover before we get to the essence of this video. Direct objects receive the action of the verb, and they answer whom or what. So let's look at an example in English first. We have the sentence, Jose took the notebook. So always, the first thing you ever want to do is identify the verb, which is took. And now from here, we can say what received the action of the verb. So basically, when we're going to the second bullet point, Jose took what? What did he take? He took the notebook or notebook. So we know that the notebook is the direct object of this sentence. So now if we were going to look at a Spanish example, Jose toma la cuaderna, basically the exact same thing as the previous sentence, but toma is the conjugated form of the verb tomar, which means to take. But since we're taking it in the present tense, this sentence technically means Jose takes the notebook. But we will get into present tense conjugations soon, so that's when we'll introduce that even in the examples to not confuse anybody. So the same thing we're going to do. The first thing is to identify the verb toma, which comes from the verb tomar, and now we have to say Jose toma, what did he take? So in the same way, he took la cuaderna, the notebook. So in this case, the direct object is la cuaderna. Let's do a couple more examples and have you practice direct objects before we get into direct object pronouns. So for your practice, identify the direct objects in all of the 4 sentences below, although if we haven't talked about the verb in a certain sentence, I did go ahead and also write it in parentheses in English, just so it would be a little bit easier for you to identify the verb, because after you've identified the verb, you know the subject pronoun. We've gone over those. Yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes. So it should be easier to identify the noun that receives the action of the verb once you know which one is the verb, although you should get a little bit of a understanding when you see the el and la, because as we went over definite and indefinite articles, you would recall that these mean the, and you can then infer that the next word is your noun. But I did go ahead and write them unless we already went over that verb or it's in a previous example. So pause the video now and get started on the practice. Alright, number 1. Yo doy el itinerario. So I did translate this one because we haven't gone over the verb dar, which means to give. So I gave the itinerary. Gave is the verb in this case. So now that we have our verb, it should be easy. I gave what? I gave the itinerary, and this one, since the Spanish word is a cognate, it is easy to identify it. So the direct object is el itinerario, or the itinerary. Ella tiene la mochila. So I didn't write this one because we have gone over the verb tener in previous videos. Make sure to go rewatch. But tener means to have. So the sentence is saying she has the backpack. So she has what? She has the backpack. So in this case, our direct object is la mochila, or the backpack. Number 3, nosotros facturamos el equipaje. Facturamos comes from facturar. It's just a conjugated version for nosotros. Remember that whenever we have a verb, we have to conjugate it to the subject pronoun given. So nosotros ending is amos for AR verbs. So make sure to go rewatch the conjugation videos because those are essential to Spanish. It's the very basic Spanish, so that you're able to notice that facturamos itself isn't the infinitive form. Facturar is, and facturamos, the amos is just the ending for the nosotros subject pronoun. So now that we have our verb, we can say we check what? We check the luggage. El equipaje is our direct object. Number 4, nosotros damos el tarjeta de embarque. So going back to what I said about the conjugations, it's important that you notice that this amos is just, again, conjugated for nosotros. And so it's actually talking, the infinitive form is still dar, which is the verb that we talked about in the very first exercise. So that also means to give. So that means we gave the tarjeta de embarque is the boarding pass. So now that we have that in mind, we can say that this entire thing, el tarjeta de embarque, is our direct object. Congratulations, you have now made it to the end of the first part of direct object pronouns. Stay tuned for part 2 so that you too can become an expert. We hope this video really helped, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye!